Hey, what's up guys? Kellen here again with Droid Life. And now that you've seen our LG V30 unboxing, it's time to dive in and figure out what this phone can actually do. And specifically for those of you who are gonna buy this phone, I wanna give you some of the first things to do when you first boot it up right out of the box. So let's dive into this. It's the first 10 things to do with your LG V30. So as is the case with almost every single brand new phone that comes out now outside of the iPhone 10, we've got fingerprint readers, and we always suggest that you go ahead and set up that fingerprint reader. Again, it's a convenient security thing. So when I pick my phone up, my finger just sort of gently rests there almost naturally, especially with this rear fingerprint spot. And so you may as well secure it. When you set up a fingerprint reader, it allows you to leave a secure phone. And should you leave your phone behind, it's secured behind that. But if you pull it out of your pocket, you don't have to swipe, you don't have to type anything in. All you have to do is just rest your finger where it's probably going to rest anyway. So in order to set this thing up, we just dive into settings and scroll all the way down to, well, actually after the first boot, it'll probably just have you do this. But if you scroll through, you'll go down into fingerprints and security. And here is a fingerprint section, and you'll probably have to set up some sort of secure pattern or pin. But once you're in there, you'll just start adding fingerprints. You'll see there's an add fingerprint button. And again, it should ask you to do this during the initial setup. And if you skip it at that point because you don't have time, this is where you'll find it. Now go through and set up fingerprint after fingerprint. You can set up multiple fingerprints. For me, I set up both index fingers since I grabbed the phone with either hand, and that's the finger that gently rests there naturally. It's up to you though. Either way, set up multiple fingerprints right there. From there, what I would say, and again, that just unlocks like that. But from there, what I would say is set up all sorts of other sort of secure lock settings. So what I mean by that is if we jump in here and you scroll up into your lock screen settings in your giant settings panel, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can actually do in here. So number one, in your select lock screen, this is where you would set the type. So swipe, knock code, pattern, pin, whatever. And you may have to choose, actually you will have to choose one of these if you do set up fingerprints. I use a pattern, but down here in this section, you'll see some other stuff, and it's called biometrics, and it lists fingerprints as being a way to unlock your lock screen, face recognition, and even voice recognition. So you can set up a whole bunch of different things. And this is one of those areas where you may just want to use them all. In fact, I've got them all enabled at the moment. So with face recognition, and again, this is one of those things that Apple is really pushing with the iPhone 10 since it doesn't have a fingerprint reader, but what you get with the Galaxy Note 8 and phones like the LG V30 is not only a fingerprint reader, but also face recognition. So with face recognition allows you to just look at your phone and it'll unlock it, assuming it recognizes your face. Another new one is voice recognition. With voice recognition, you can set up a custom command by LG in order to unlock your phone. So I'll show you how some of this works. If we have this locked, and we'll see if I can do this on camera, but we just look at our phone, and I'm behind a microphone, so it may not actually want to do this, and it's not going to. But what that would do if I was actually viewing it not behind a microphone is it would then unlock my phone. The other thing you can do though is the voice recognition. So I can just say, yo, LG, and that goes ahead and unlocks my phone, or at the very least wakes it up. Now you can customize it to wake or fully unlock. I thought I had mine to fully unlock, but it clearly doesn't want to do that. But I can say that again, yo, LG, and it's waking my phone. Now that could be because I'm behind some other secure settings or something like that, but you'll see in here voice recognition. And voice recognition, you can change your voice, delete your voice. Oh, I do have it just set to turn on screen, but if you want, you can have it fully unlock your phone just by using that voice command. So now that we do have that properly set up, let's do it one more time. Yo, LG. And then it goes and unlocks my phone. Then I can interact with it using more voice commands or something like that. So anyway, I would highly suggest jumping in here into the lock screen setting and just walking through all of this stuff that may sound interesting to you, including smart lock, which is something we also suggest most people take advantage of. Trusted places for one. It allows your phone to just be unlockable when you're in a trusted place. Most people would set that up as their home. You can also set up some trusted voice and trusted devices. Those would be Bluetooth devices that you connect to that then leave your phone sort of open to just a swipe unlock or something like that. On body detection and trusted voice, I'm not really a huge fan of those, but those are something to explore. But either way, the lock screen settings after you set up fingerprints is really kind of a cool area to start playing around with stuff. All right, so now with that out of the way, I would go right to the home screen since you're going to spend a lot of time here. And from here, I would just start customizing things. So when you open this phone out of the box, it may not have an app drawer like this. A little bit slow, but it may not have an app drawer. It may just start loading up app after app after app on your home screen. If you don't want that, you can change that. And so if you long press on home, go into home screen settings down here in the bottom right. In the general selection, there is a select home. Home is the standard one, and that means all of your apps are just set up on your home screen. I am not a fan of that. I like an app drawer, so I set home with separate apps list. Now, this is the Verizon variant. That may be called something else. Verizon customizes things for no reason, but home with separate apps list is the one that actually has an app drawer. Of course, if that's not going to do it for you, you can install a third-party app, launcher app. And so you can see I've also got Nova Launcher installed. Action Launcher is another good one. There's tons of third-party launchers out there. Feel free to install one, since LGs are not exactly my favorites. The other thing I would say is if you swipe over here, there's this section, I think it's called App Flash. And again, this may be specific to the Verizon model. This is basically just a glorified ad. You may just want to uninstall this, or at the very least turn it off. And you'll find that in this home screen settings down here, there is left home screen from your layout. And so this is set with App Flash on. Again, it's just a glorified ad. You may as well turn it off. You can also go with LG's Smart Bulletin if that actually makes more sense to you, or just turn it off completely, again, if you're using LG's sort of custom setup here. All right, so from there, we will just swipe away some notifications here. I would say set up this section. So this is the notification shade, and these are your quick settings tiles. So if you're in one swipe down, you get this sort of minimal list of 6 of them along with your brightness slider. If you swipe that down again, you get additional ones and sort of bigger tiles. You can swipe through this and all that. I always suggest setting this up to your taste, in particular, so that your first 6 up here are really, really what you want. So what I'm saying is, whenever you swipe this thing down, these are the first 6 you're going to see. And if you want to toggle Wi-Fi off and on really easy, if you want to use Bluetooth off and on easily, auto rotate or airplane mode, you want to have those in your first 6. So you would hit this edit button, and then you can grab things and drag them around. I don't know what Capture Plus necessarily is, so I'm going to hide that over here. Sync, we can put that up here if you need things to sync properly, or I don't necessarily, but I really like having auto rotate there because I turn that off and on all of the time. Let's go ahead and put Bluetooth in there. And so now I've got these 6. Well, actually, I don't really like that, but I may want to see battery settings. So there we go. I've customized that. Now that first swipe down is 6 things that I use all of the time. So really, again, it's one of those things you just set up right out of the box, and then you kind of don't have to worry about it after that. All right, so now I would say let's dive into the camera. Camera on this phone is obviously a huge deal. You got that dual camera setup, one wide angle, one standard shooter, and they're fantastic cameras. So you're going to want to use, in fact, the V30, one of the biggest selling points of this phone is the camera. Not only video, but still photos. And so you want to know how to launch this. And the quickest way is to double tap on the volume down button, and that actually launches right into the camera. That was me, by the way. So again, to launch that with the screen off, this is the fastest way. That is a double click on the volume down button. That launches your camera. Now, once you're in here, you just kind of want to familiarize yourself with how the LG V30 camera works. And there's definitely some stuff to tweak. So for one, you have this toggle right here that'll jump you between the standard shooter and then, standard here and then wide angle here. So that's just an easy way to toggle between those two, depending on what kind of shot you're looking to get. If you don't want to just tap between those and you kind of want to gradually zoom, you can actually grab the shutter button and slide it to the left and right. And that will not only zoom, but it'll flip you automatically between the different cameras. You can see that happening there. So again, that is a slide here of the shutter button back and forth, and that zooms in and out. Some other things you may want to tweak are if we jump into settings. For one, there's your photo size you can adjust, but you may want to turn video resolution on to 4K or UHD. Out of the box, I believe it's at FHD 60 frames per second. So I went ahead and turned on 4K. The camera roll, this is an option that may not be on out of the box. What the camera roll does is, well, with it off, you'll see my settings bar is right up top. If I turn camera roll on, then it creates this separate section. So if I take photos, they actually show up there in my camera roll. So it's kind of like a quick preview of the photos you just took. Maybe something you want to look at if you get more photos in there. Let me just take a few more. You can actually scroll through that thing. This was first introduced on the LG G6, but it is back again. In the LG G6, there was a little bit of lag involved there, so I'm not sure yet without enough testing whether that's going to be the case here with the V30. I'd imagine they've optimized that. Definitely want to leave HDR auto on. There are some other things like a cheese shutter in case you want to just say cheese to have it take a picture. Your tag locations, which are location data attached to photos. I always turn a grid on. You can even turn a signature on, or you can just shut it all down and go with simple view. So there's some stuff in there you're definitely going to want to play with because this camera is fully blown and it's got all of the features you want, and you're going to want to use this camera. I'm telling you, it's that good. From there, we will jump back actually into settings. So if we go back into settings, we're going to look at some display stuff. So you'll scroll into settings until you find display, and we're going to go ahead and tap on that. And from here, I'm going to scroll down, and there's an always on display section. And there's also if I can find it, a comfort view section. So we'll go into always on display first. Always on display is this. So when your screen is, or your phone is in a locked state, you always have this display showing, which shows time. It'll show you if you have notifications. You can also have it show battery if you want to. I think it's a really handy feature. It does not necessarily drain battery any faster than with it be off. So you may want to take advantage of it. I think it's a big deal. If you tap on it, you'll get into some settings. So you can actually have it time out. Like say at night, that little bit of brightness coming through from those pixels is driving you nuts. You can actually have it time out automatically. You can actually have it be brighter if you want. There's just some other things you can tweak in here, like the layout, different clocks, some other stuff. So this is just stuff you'll want to go ahead and play with, but there is a toggle for on off there. On this Verizon version, it was off out of the box. So if you're not seeing it, this is where you'll find it. The other thing is comfort view. So comfort view is a nighttime sort of easing on the eyes. It takes away the blue. In other words, it's called a blue light filter. You'll see it also called night mode on some phones. But what it is it turns everything sort of this brown, I shouldn't say brownish, maybe a yellowish, reddish tone, and it's easier on your eyes at night. So you can actually schedule this to come on. So I have it come on at 10 p.m. and turns off at 6 a.m. And that's again, usually because I'm laying in bed, or maybe it's dark out or in the morning. You don't necessarily want a bright blue screen blasting you in the eye. And you can adjust the sensitivity of this yellowness or warmth. It's just something you should definitely look at. And again, when you set up schedules, this stuff just kind of happens without you needing to worry about it. So staying in settings though, there is a special setting for this phone. You remember the V10 and V20, they both had a secondary ticker display up top. Well, this phone obviously no longer has that ticker display, but what they do have is a virtual version called the floating bar. So floating bar, you can turn this thing off and on depending on if you like it. If we go back home, you'll notice I have this little guy right here, and that is actually the floating bar. So all you do is tap on that, and it slides out a couple of apps and other options. You can actually scroll through this. It can be multi-page paginated, whatever the word would be there. And so what this is shortcuts to things. So it works just like that secondary ticker that was up here. You can swipe between it, look for different things. There is a whole settings section on here. So shortcuts would be specific apps or things like that you want to just access in it. So default out of the box, it's a settings, take a selfie, a new event, or a new memo, but you can add things to that by tapping this button, I do believe. Not working. There we go. So it popped up that, and you could just say you want Allo to pop up. Then now you have a shortcut to Allo, which you can see there. If we jump back, you can even turn some of these things off or on. You can even turn your quick contacts on. So your favorite contacts, you can have that section turned on to quickly access them. If you want to have music controls available at all times, that's that option there. In terms of screen capture, this stuff is, it's kind of cool because you can do GIFs, I do say GIF, not GIF, cropped images and things like that. And that would be this screen here. And so they're all pretty self-explanatory in terms of what you want to get at. One of the cool things you can do is move this around. So you can see I've got a hold of this button. I can put it down here if I want. I can put it over to this side if I want. You can kind of pin it wherever you want. If you don't want it to be so free floating, there is an option down here to adjust it. So you can have it just on the right edge, only on the left edge, or pinned to a specific spot. It's up to you, but either way, the floating bar is in the place of the ticker. And it's one of those things you may just want to set up. All right, so jumping back into settings, and we'll go actually into, I believe it's sound. And we're looking for our do not disturb settings, and it's not in there. I apologize for that. It's in notifications, do not disturb. So do not disturb mode, sort of like that comfort view or that blue light filter. What you should do is set up a do not disturb mode so that automatically at night it comes on, and then your phone doesn't bug you in the middle of the night. Now you can customize this in terms of priority modes, and that just means what comes through. So priority could mean alarms come through, favorite contacts information comes through. So you can select the priorities down here. You can customize what you want to be able to still pass through your do not disturb mode. This stuff isn't new. You guys have probably seen this before, but anyways, I do have a schedule set up where mine comes on 11 p.m. every night, shuts off at 6 a.m. Customize all that however you want. You can set up multiple schedules, but do not disturb is just one of those things you sort of set it and forget it. So you should do it as a first 10 thing. The next thing I would say is Google Assistant. Make sure you set that up. This phone does have Google Assistant. I know I showed you that command where I said, yo, LG, and unlock the phone. Google Assistant is always here, and you just long press on home, and that fires up Google Assistant. Now, with Google Assistant, you'll have to train it to do the hot word is what we like to call it, which is okay, followed by, Google, and that launches that. I'm not going to say it to fire everything off here, or you can always just long press and that jumps you into it too. I don't think I need to walk through what Google Assistant does, but you can get weather information, your schedule information. You can look up places, get navigation. You can control your smart home. You can do a number of things with Google Assistant. In fact, the list of stuff that it does just continues to grow and grow. So make sure you set up Google Assistant. Again, that's just a long press on home. And now the final of the first 10 things I think you should do with your LG V30 is set up your Quad DAC settings. If you're buying this phone, you're probably doing it because you do love to listen to high quality audio. And yes, there is that headphone jack up top. So if you have a pair of headphones, go ahead and plug those in. And the first time you do that, it'll actually let you know, hey, we've got a hi-fi Quad DAC on board. And you can check a box so it doesn't show this every single time you do that. But there are settings involved here in case you want to tweak those. So just tap on settings and turn the DAC on. And then you can start adjusting things from right to left audio. There are presets you can set up, digital filters to adjust. There is all sorts of stuff. And I am not an audiophile, so I'm not about to try to explain to you what all of that stuff does. If you are an audio person, you probably know much better than I do. So anyway, jump into this stuff, really start setting it up. I should also point out there is a shortcut to Quad DAC. So if you don't want to use it for some reason with your headphones on, you can just tap that and that'll turn it off, or you can turn it back on so you can adjust that shortcut as well. Either way, your Quad DAC is just something you're really going to want to adjust because, again, this is one of the, I believe it's the only phone with it, and headphone jacks are starting to become endangered species. I will throw out one more bonus, and that is, depending on which LG V30 you get, uninstall all the damn bloatware. So you can see this is the Verizon version, and not only is there way too many Verizon apps installed here, including this really awful security and privacy thing powered by McAfee that keeps scanning everything I do on my phone. There is also a whole suite of Yahoo apps, and look, there's even a Final Fantasy trying to pre-install itself. Bank of America, I don't bank with, is on there. So depending on the version you get, you are going to want to uninstall bloatware, and in order to do that, you go into Settings, Application Manager, and you just start scrolling through things until you find stuff that you don't want any part of. So B of A, I'm going to go and tap on that and click uninstall and go through this and do it for all the apps that Verizon preloads or AT&T preloads or whoever preloads that you don't want. Some of them you may not be able to uninstall. You may be able to only disable. Either way, feel free to do that. You're not going to harm your phone at all. That's it though. These are first 10 things we think you should do with your LG V30. Stay tuned. We obviously have a full review coming, and we'll also have additional tips and tricks to really help you get the most out of your phone. We're Droid Life. Peace.